Welcome, Dr. Ramirez. You're right here by Solomon.
You ready?
Yes, it's 11:06. I'm going to call the Electric Utility Board meeting to order, and we do have a quorum. Oh, you got to push the button.
Wow.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have your attention.
Hello? Check, check. All right, I'm calling city council to order. We also have a quorum.
Has anyone signed up to speak? Welcome, Mr. Schultz. We're right here. You're right here by me.
No, ma'am, we don't have anyone.
There's no one to speak.
Then we'll go to the next item on the agenda. I don't have the little executive session sheet with all the numbers on up. Will it be the same? They're basically the
It
same.
will be if you just want to say the board as opposed to the council.
Madam Chair, your mic.
Turn it on.
Since there is no one, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is the executive session, where we will consult with the city staff and utility board staff on competitive matters of the public power utilities under section 551.086 of the Texas Government Code, and pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and hold consultation with attorney under section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, and personnel matters under section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Stafford. City council will also hold an executive session for the purpose of consulting with city staff regarding competitive matters of the public power utilities under section 551.086 of the Texas Government Code, and pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and hold consultation with attorney under section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, as well as personnel matters under 551.074 of the Texas Government Code.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just a little housekeeping, lunch will be outside, exits like an airplane, we have one over here and one here, and bathrooms right around the corner. So, if we'll close the doors for executive committee, everybody go get their food, and we'll come right back in for executive session, please. Sorry, Joel, I'm not ready for you yet. I need to approve the minutes from August 15th and the special meeting August 30th. Do I hear a motion? Mr. Fields?
Second,
Okay, second, Mr. Wilson. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 7, Joel, that's you.
I'm always getting left at the altar.
Easy to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, everyone. If you'll turn with me to page 37 in your board package, I'll just be real brief if I can. We are having Public Power Week, the first week in October. On that Sunday of that week, we are having our LPNO Customer Appreciation Picnic at the Spirit Ranch, 701 Regis Street. And it's from 1 to 3, and it's just kind of a come and go type thing. But we'll have all kinds of displays set up. We'll have food, obviously, if it's a picnic. And then throughout that whole week, Clint and his group has organized a customer service week. He yells at everybody donuts. Clint's hosting a customer service week at the business office across the street from City Hall. And so if you all get a chance to come by and just visit with some of the customer-facing folks, I think they would really appreciate seeing you there. We'll have, I'm sure, cake and punch, Clint, all the kind of goodies like that for folks that want to come in to celebrate our customers. So we're looking forward to that. This is an American Public Power Association nationwide week that we do this celebration.
Joe, I think that's good, but would you send a reminder to the board so we can put it on our calendars?
We will send a reminder to the board. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Right, and the more they come in first, it really is great. I did it last year, so it's really fun trying to come. You can bring your spouse or family.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It really is a neat event. It's a lot of fun for all of us. As y'all may have noticed this past week and into the weekend, we had some pretty severe outages, power outages. Starting on Thursday night, we had a storm roll through, and then early Friday morning, we had another really bad storm come through with high winds and really, really heavy rain. And then the following day, insult to injury, we had another storm. So we had a pretty good wave of these things coming through our system during that time. I think we had as many as something like 15,000 people out at one point in time. I'm really bringing this up, Cody Morris and his group, Cody Kirk and his group, managing both the dispatching aspects of it, but then the work to get all this stuff pieced back together. They worked through late in the night, all the way through Saturday night to get all this stuff pieced back together. So kudos to the groups for really banding together and doing a great job of getting that mitigated. I've seen storms a lot in my 40 years doing this stuff, and that was right there with the toughest of them, because all the straight line winds took down, I think, Cody, we replaced something like 28 poles or something like that. And that's probably a lot from tree damage and all the lights that goes with that, or maybe the straight line winds just blowing some poles over, who knows. But that's a lot of work, and the folks, men and women, did a fantastic job of responding to that, so my hat's off to them for that, so thank you all.
Joe, do we have adequate inventory to take care of everything?
Yes, do you feel confident, Cody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Do you stock up for storm seasons a little bit?
Yes, sir. Yeah, our warehouse order points are set for taking care of stuff like that.
Okay, good. So we do have, we do increase our stock during those periods of the year. Unless there's any question, I'm gonna try to move this along a little bit because I know that we're running long, but I think, Joe, you up?
Good afternoon, board. This afternoon, I'm gonna go over the power cost recovery factor. Again, this is setting the rate for the winter season. This is setting the rates for the winter season. Again, we intend to anticipate to go to the retail competition in March, so these rates are set from October 1st through mid-March, and that's where we plan to set the rates at for the winter season. Again, we're able to lower the rates in the winter season due to lower natural gas pricing and hedging strategies that we've taken for the winter season. We also had some good length in July and August. We were able to sell some overhedge position, and that, along with some generation sales as well, we were able to make $10 million for the months of July and August. And again, so that was helping us keep our winter rates flat for this season, and we're able to lower them from, they decreased from last winter season to this winter season. I'll have a chart that shows that. But we are dropping about 0.7 cents for the summer season to the winter season. Again, this is this is a plan under recovery of the winter season of about $300,000, which means our revenues and expenses pretty much match each other. There's about $99 million in revenues, and that's what we anticipate to collect in expenses or to pay out in expenses as well. With that being said, our rate again, for compared to last year, you'll see our total cost. This is your all-in cost, this is your base rate, your power cost recovery factor, and your service availability charge. Runs about 13.2 cents all-in cost for residential one customer using 1,000 kWh. The reason we use 1,000 kWh, that's kind of the average for a medium-sized home. So it's about 13.2 cents for the winter, which is about, I mentioned, a 0.7 cent drop roughly from the summer, and then a big drop from winter of 16.44 cents. If you recall, last summer we had a really rough summer, really hot summer. The pricing of energy was very high, but we decided to hold our rates flat for the summer season and not pass that cost on to our customers last summer. So the winter season is where we raised up the rates a little bit to recover that under collection that we incurred in the summer of 2022. So we're back to normal. We've caught up. We've caught all that under recovery, and now we're evenly flat. So we're able to set the rates at 13.2 cents, which again is a strictly pass-through cost on this. $90 million of revenues and $90 million of expenses are anticipated for that. To the right, you'll see the current Power to Choose, a little snippet from the Power to Choose website. This is the current market pricing for, if you go out there right now for a residential customer, 1,000 kWh as well. You can see, so we land in the middle of that pack right there. The minimum is 13 cents with Octopus. You have TXU at 14.7 cents. So we kind of fall right in the middle of that, which is our anticipated goal. You know, when we transition our customers in the March, we want to be right in the mid of the market, and so that's where we hope to land on there. And again, this is ever changing. The power to choose it's market responsive. So whatever the price of natural gas or whatever market price is, you're going to see that go up and down. But currently, that's a snapshot of yesterday. So when we set our rates where we're at right now, we hope to land right in the middle of the retail market. So the customers have the opportunity to choose a lower provider, or you can choose a higher provider. Again, there's higher providers than this. There's some that go to 16.1 cents, but it's preference. At that 16.1 cents, you can pay, but it's 100% renewable energy. It's clean energy, so there's a premium you pay for that. But this is the actual market price of a mixed portfolio in your energy. And so with that said, that's 13.2 cents. This chart right here, again, these are going to be the winter season rates for all our rate classes. We start at your residential, then you have your commercial customers. Again, every rate class decreased for the winter season as compared to the summer season. And you'll see some rate classes that even decreased about 10% from last winter to this winter. So again, the natural gas pricing, market prices have come off from where they were last year, so we're able to pass that savings on to the customer. So this is the recommended rates for all our rate classes for the winter season. Again, these rates are intended to be effective until we transition our customers to the retail market. And again, the director has the authority to set the rates for the winter season and the summer season. And if we see any changes, we can bring back to the board, staff can bring back to the board, or he can bring back to the board a recommended change if we see something move in the market, and y'all have the authority to change those rates and mid-season adjustments. Any questions on the PCRF rates? Good. Pass it on to Ms. Casey. So.
That was close. That was close.
Number 8 on your agenda is Casey.
We are going to be going through our July financial statements. And if you look at cash, you can see that we had a decrease of about $2.6 million. If you look at our cash flows for the month of July, you can see that in our operating cash, we had a positive cash flow of about $689,000. Now this number is a lot lower than we have been seeing in the previous months. There are several things that contribute to that. One being our purchase power cost increasing $5 million from May to June, as well as us being under collected for June. And then another thing that's causing that is at the end of June we had to halt disconnects because of the weather, so we couldn't force people to pay. So we're going to see an increase in payment in July for that. And then also we have an increase in payment arrangements due to our discontinuation of the budget billing. In our cash flows for our capital activities, you can see that we have negative $3 million. 2.2 of that will be refunded by bonds in August. And then in our investing activities, we're going to see we have $20,000 positive cash flow, and that's going to be interest income. Now, we have had a delay on our bond refunding for capital project spending. So next month, we will see $12 million for CIP expense reimbursements for May to July. And then in addition to that, we're going to see another $20 million that's going to be moved from restricted capital funds. And this is going to be from our 2021 and 2022 bond issuances. We have to fund a debt service reserve, and that's supposed to be refunded from our bond, or funded from our bond proceeds. But there was an error made, and it was funded from our cash. So we're going to refund that because we already have it in there from our bond proceeds. So we're going to move that back up to our cash. Okay, going back to our balance sheet and our AR.
Excuse me, how much are you moving to cash?
It'll be $20 million for that. So in August, we'll see a total of $32 million moved from bond proceeds to cash.
To cash, okay.
Yes. So in our AR, we do see a large increase from the previous month, and that's going to be due to a 9% increase in usage. We billed out about $10 million more in revenue in July compared to June. And then our halt and disconnects and our increase in payment arrangements will also contribute to that. There was an increase in our liabilities, and that's largely due to the increase in purchase power costs from June to July. And then our net position increased $8.4 million, and we're up $17 million since year end in our net position. Going to the ratios, our days cash has decreased from 100 to 91. This is largely due to the delay in the CIP refunding or bond refunding for CIP expenses. We've been using all of our cash to cover that. So we should see that go back up next month, but we still are meeting our 90-day benchmark. In our operating ratio, we see a decrease from 8.57 to 8.43, and that's due to an increase in our operating revenues being larger than the increase in our operating expenses from June to July. And then last, in our current ratio, we see a slight increase from 2.3 to 2.31. I would expect that will go up next month as well when we get that cash refunded. Okay, moving on to our income statement. We should be about 83% of budget at this point in time, and our charges for services and purchase power, we're kind of right in about budget, 82%. ERCOT hold harmless payment is coming right in at budget, 83%. Our T-cost revenue is slightly over budget, 86%, and that's going to be due to an increase in our 4CP. Does anybody need a refresher on the 4CP and what that is? Okay. And then in our departmental expenses, we're still coming in under budget at 73%, so we're coming in 9% under. And then our operating income is coming in at 109% of budget so far. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Hey, I have a question. On the program we have where people can make partial payments, what kind of dollars are we talking about that might be in arrears?
I was trying to get that
Okay.
for y'all, but the report in CCS isn't working, so I couldn't get y'all a dollar amount. I could only get a total number and see that the payment arrangements are increasing. And so that gives them until their next due date to pay.
Okay.
Do you have a magnitude? Order of magnitude?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Chair, board members, we've got to take, well, we don't have to do anything, but we have the opportunity to schedule different meeting dates for November, December. We don't absolutely have to do anything right now. We can take action in October if you wish. But on page 56 of your board packet, there is a calendar for November, December. We've got some proposed dates for you. We can do nothing. We can do dates that are other than what's listed here on the sheet. It's entirely up to you all, how you want to meet. We're proposing, we got potentially in November, for example, our board meeting date is the week of Thanksgiving. And so the 21st Tuesday would be that same week. If that's inconvenient, we propose Monday the week before, which will be right back out here. Cody, sorry about that. Be cramping your style. Or the last week of the month, Tuesday the 28th. Those are alternatives. Or anything else that you all would want to come up with.
I like the 13th
What?
of November.
You like the
13th, that Monday.
13th?
Yeah, it's on the calendar as an option. Or we move it to the last
On the
Tuesday.
28th.
Yeah.
I'd rather do
the 13th.
it that early in the month, and that's fine.
If staff has everything ready,
Whatever y'all want to do.
is that crowd staff if we do the 13th?
Friday,
For financials.
I mean, it's either way. We just got to have deadlines. That's all.
13th.
It's easy for me to say because I'm not going to ask.
So November 13th.
11 o'clock.
Is everybody okay with the 13th?
Yes.
We'll need to certainly let the folks that aren't here know. And then December.
December, very similar thing. Regular meeting. We have a city holiday starting on the 22nd. Our Christmas break starts then. And a lot of people's do actually. We can keep that same day of the 19th. We've got proposed the 11th. Cody, bad news, that's back out here at the Hill also.
Let's stay with the 19th. Can we stay with the 19th? I'm not going anywhere. Y'all okay December 19th?
Bah humbug.
Don't next year. Oh.
Well, I like the 11th because then that's a month from the previous month.
We proposed the 15th, which is a Friday, as another alternative.
No Friday.
Fridays.
No Fridays, okay, forget that. Is that like ever?
But not ever, but I mean, that time of year, no.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I could do either one.
They, some of us start early Christmas with our families, so.
Yes.
Are you saying the 21st,
19th.
19th?
Leave it on the 19th.
11th or
That could
19th.
be downtown, correct?
Yes.
I'm good.
Are you okay with Bon Humbug?
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave December 19th, and that'll be.
We'll bring you candy canes.
Okay, very good. So I've got the 19th for December and the 13th for November.
Bring your
All right.
fruit tickets all.
Yeah, if I'm not here, you'll know what.
And again, can somebody get somebody these calendar dates out for October, November, December?
Yes,
So,
we'll send out new meeting notices and that.
add in your reception date.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. Matt?
Okay. Number 10, it's Matt's number 10.
Yep. How come you seem glad to hear from him?
So just want to give you a brief update. We had a meeting of the Project Helping Hands Communication Committee, may soon be another name, customer engagement. As we go forward, this committee continues to be one that sits and deliberates over all the different ways that we're engaging with customers. But had a good meeting this week. We'll likely have another meeting here pretty soon to kind of further go over this. Just wanted to kind of quickly go over what we kind of talked about. One of the first item was just going over the opt-in checklist. It's something that Joel was showing you all a lot. It's just kind of going through the different things that we've got to get finished before we can get across the line at the end of the year and then take folks over. We talked about education and communication, but really where we got into the weeds, and it was good, was talking about things like how we're going to process deposits, how we're going to handle payment arrangements and those sorts of things as we get close to going live to this, but also how we're going to communicate with customers for important things such as if they are one that falls under a default provider, how do we notify them of that? What kind of specificity can we put in that notification? Just really trying to work to make sure that folks that haven't paid attention, that get defaulted, are still in a position where they know what's going on, that they don't throw away that bill from their new default provider. We also talked about how we're going to handle new construction and temporary services as we make this transition. We're still going to have a role in that process, but making sure that we put stuff on the website and communicate out to the public so that they know the process if they're in that area where they're going to have new construction, knowing that these are the steps that they need to take. Outside of that, I think the only other kind of major thing that we really kind of dug into was how we're communicating with the multi-property owners. They continue to be a more complex kind of subset of customers as we go into this new market. Some of these larger folks like Location Rentals, they may be in a position where they have to pick a provider for their 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 rental homes across the city. So Clint and his group do a really good job. Amy Day staying in front of that group, but just talked as a group about how we continue to communicate with those folks. So that's kind of a high level overview of it. We'll continue to post these meetings. So if we have meetings in the future, any board members are welcome to come attend and listen, even if they're not on that committee, because increasingly this is going to be focused on all of the communications that are going to be going out for all customers. So I'll let Dr. Fields jump in if he has anything further, but that's kind of the 30,000 foot overview.
Madam Chairman, that pretty much covers most of what we had in the meeting. One last thing, we wanted to change the name of that from Project Helping Hands to Customer Engagement.
So be, well, please reflect that the committee will now be called the Customer Engagement Committee. Thank you.
I would also add that the use of the libraries
Yes.
is something that we talked about, so can you come with this elaborate?
Yeah, so we started with the town halls that we had last spring. We told folks that in an effort to try to reach people that for whatever reason may not have the internet at their house or have the technology that they need to get this done, that we have places for them to go. And so we partner with the libraries, all of the libraries around town and the community centers. So when we get time to have that shopping window, that's a place where people can go. And the good news is that I just talked to the individual that's head of the libraries a couple of weeks ago, and they are continually downloading all of these materials off our website and making them available at every single library around town. and said that they're still having a lot of people coming in and picking up their materials. We're doing the same thing at City Lubbock Utilities Customer Service Center and the 5th floor, and that we're printing those packets out in English and Spanish. And we're still having folks come in on a weekly basis picking up those packets. So when we get about a month from now, and we get to the point in time where we can go out to the public with all of the names of the providers and their contact information, we'll add that and we'll make a version 2 of that shopping guide that has those reps' names and has all of our personal information about this project. Right now it's kind of generic. So that'll be the next big step of this.
And I did go over that blue packet yesterday. I took one home and looked at it, and I thought you covered some really good points that just personally I had questions about, and we were answered in the packet. So
We continue to fill out the FAQs on the website. We'll have more packet. Right now, that packet is primarily composed of stuff information that we've taken directly from the PUC. The next phase of this will be actually adding in stuff that is specific to our project, things that people here making the choice will need to know. And we'll add more of the checklist in there in terms of when you go out to shop, what are the top 10 questions that you need to make sure you get answered before you sign a contract, that type of information. Yes. Last thing I'll add is that if you saw the news last night or last Thursday, we are now back out there talking about this project and setting this new timeline. So you'll see increasingly over the weeks and months that we'll be putting news stories out there reminding folks that this choice is coming soon.
Appreciate it, Dan.
Thank you, Matt. Good job. That's Gonzalo and Solomon. Thank you. I think we're making headway in whatever you think you need. The meetings are very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Number 11. There's Harvey. Got him in my sights.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, number 11 is the discuss, and just basically the recommendation to take action on the proposed upcoming sale of up to $80 million in electric revenue bonds. This is to pay for our partial requirements settlement agreement with Southwestern Public Service. That's kind of our last step as part of the integration into the retail market. We need to go ahead and pay off the settlement. This is all still kind of contingent on everything passing through FERC. So we discussed FERC timelines and how that was going to go. So we would anticipate that if all goes well, we would look to actually execute on this sale in the first half of December of this year. And that's in anticipation of making a January 15th payment. Just some facts about this. We have an up to of $80 million. We just had a revised estimate of what we would need to borrow as of today, what that would look like from our financial advisor, RBC, and they estimated that we're going to need to borrow about $68 million. So our up to is $80 million. It just gives us cushion. We anticipated it's going to be a borrowing of about $68 million. The current interest rate that they are looking at is 4.45, 4.46, right around there. For perspective, our borrowing a little over a year ago for our 22 bonds was 3.67 total inside. So it's gone up around 80 basis points in the last year, which isn't too bad. It was pretty scary back then because literally rates were forecasted, up into the right, almost to 45 degree angles. We were pretty nervous about that. And if that's the case, we had budgeted borrowing of about $88 million to cover that. And we were anticipating making a payment of 77.5. This borrowing is going to be related to really cover what's going to be about a $64.5 million settlement payment. And that's because between June 1st and December 31st, in the agreement, $61,000 a day comes off of that settlement payment all the way through the end of December, and that's just a little over a $13 million reduction in that payment. So that's where it puts us about 64.5. So we're borrowing less, which drops this number significantly. The prior up to for this was $90 million when we were anticipating it back in 22. We're reducing that up to $80 million because we just simply don't need that much headroom in this. So that's something we have a resolution before the board to take action on this and to recommend this borrowing to City Council. it would take it up, and it's the
I
proper
need a
sort.
motion for the resolution, to recommend the city council, approval for bonds up to $80 million. That will go to the next city council meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Schultz seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Motion carries 6-0. Number 12, Joe, that's still you, Harvey. He's still
Oh,
there.
yeah,
This is the ordinance
I
man
know,
now.
right, the ordinance man. So also before the board right now is ordinance number 2.03, and it's sections 412 through 418. Most 99% of the changes are in section 417. This is really what it's amending two things primarily. It's amending our reserve requirement, how it's calculated, and what those limitations are. So we moved from a 90 days cash stipulated on operating revenue, and we're looking at that now on days expense. And that's the pulse and line with credit rating agencies that look at days cash related to your cash expenditures, not your revenue. And they want to make sure you had sufficient funds to cover that. We have established a floor of that, so we have a max and a min as opposed to an up to. So our minimum floor that we need to maintain, and it's predicated on a single A rating, is 90 days cash. And we have an upper bound on that for 200 days cash. Just for perspective, 150 days is would get us to a double A rating. And the reason, the intention of that range is for a couple things. It allows the board the discretion to increase and save and build up a reserve beyond where we're currently at, so we can establish a reserve. We can move that. The board at its discretion then could also set a target to get to a double A rating and above. So it gives the board discretion an operating range between 90 and 200 days cash. That's to give the board flexibility with different things, credit rating agencies being able to save, accrue for other things. So that is part of it. The other section of it is really related to our payment in lieu of tax that we pay the city. It's based off of 1% of operating revenue, and our franchise fee equivalent that's about 5% of our operating revenue. So we're switching that because we're moving from the retail market, so we're not sellers of energy anymore. Now we're deliverers of energy. So we're going to switch from a percentage of operating revenue to $1 per kilowatt hour. So where we would establish that is for the pilot, we would look to the city to estimate what our ad valorem tax would be as a taxed entity. We would set that as a dollar figure and divide that by the estimated or forecasted delivered kilowatt hours for that year, so that we can get them set a rate with the intention of getting them there. It's usually around $3 million a year for ad valorem. So we would really set it for a target. We would do the same for franchise fees. So we would look at franchise fees, looking at the past 3 years average of our franchise fee equivalent that we paid out, which comes out to about $13.5 million. So just like with the pilot, we would set 13 million, estimate what our forecasted delivery kilowatt hours are for the year, set a rate, and then let that rate go through. And then that gives the city their required revenue it keeps them whole on the franchise fee equivalent. The thing that's an advantage to the city in this process too is that it stabilizes their revenue. So as opposed to franchise fees that would be fluctuating based on power prices, so in the last 5 years, it's ranged from about 8 million to 15 million. So the numbers get flashy, and it's very difficult for the city to try to manage around that. Here, you're basing it on load, not gas price. So it's a fairly stable and a consistent process. So that gives stability for the city to be able to plan and budget around. So I have brought that before, and this has also gone through, in addition to the board's review of this, and staff's recommended review of this. This has also gone through a full review of the city attorney's office under Chad Weaver. They've looked at, reviewed this. There's a section that was taken out, section F in 417. It was almost looked at as it basically was interpreted by everybody, including the city, that it was almost a reinterpretation of how to determine the reserves, and it just was something that we thought we would strike out. The city totally agreed with that would be fine to remove that. So, any questions from the board on this?
Is that number to the city about 15 million a year?
That's about right.
That range, so they could.
About 15 to 15.5 total.
Compliments, Harvey, to you and our staff and everyone for, the cooperation with the city of Blue. I think it makes it a lot easier when everybody's in on the grassroots of something like this.
Absolutely.
So with that compliment, do I have a motion to, recommend to the city council these changes in the ordinance?
So
Mr. Fields, Mr. Schultz, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries 6-0.
Are you still here?
I'm still here, sorry. I know, so you can't make it go away.
He won't sit down. Okay, number 13.
Number 13, Harvey, sorry.
No problem. Number 13. So this is a contract we have with Nugent Strategic Solutions. They are a provider of consultants on our rate establishment. So they help us they've helped us with our transmission cost of service, our TCOS revenue. They're helping us currently in our TCOS case before the Texas PUC. They're our rate consultant for that. They also are the rate consultants for our delivery rates that we just estimated. So we rely on them for this service. This proposal, this is an amendment. We had a two-year agreement with them that expires October 21st next year. It had an up to total for those 2 years of $150,000. I'd like to extend it another 2 years and just add another $100,000 to that limit for the next 2 years. They've already as of today, I was talking with Felix, so thank you, Felix. Felix advised me we're about $17,000 underneath of that $150,000 for the first 2 years. That can carry over with another $100,000 for another 2 years. And the intention there is that they would provide continuing consultant work for us to get through the balance of this TCOS, just before the Texas PUC, so we maintain continuity in that piece of it. The other thing that we are looking to do is I'm instructing them ahead of time that we're going to be seeking to bring the construction of the delivery cost of service inside. That's something that we have the staff, we have really good staff to be able to take that over in the next 2 years. That does take some training and some time by staff to be able to be trained on doing rates. I've done rates. I was a principal rate analyst in the past, so I've done that work. I could work with the team. And we would use NewGen as a consultancy to help us take on a model and begin that process on our own. They in turn would audit those rates and then audit that perspective to ensure for the first couple times it's precise. So this is a request by the board to extend that contract for another 2 years with another $150,000 added onto the total up to.
Another 100,000.
Another 100,000. Sorry, correct. That's right.
Questions?
Yes. How long have they been consultants built in?
I know that this agreement is for the last 2 years. I don't know how long we've done prior to that, Joe.
2017.
Okay.
2017.
Thanks. Perfect, thanks.
Are there any other questions of Harvey? Any more? Dr. Rogers?
Yes,
Sure.
and just from my perspective on being a consultant and having hired consultants, the goal is always, from my perspective, is to use the consultant to kind of help you get going where you need to go, and eventually, the consultant is no longer needed because you've added those tools to your expertise. So is that the goal?
That is the goal. That is the goal. We would want, TCOS filings are it's a very different process. Delivery rates are something that stays internal to the city, because ultimately it comes to the board and then the city council approves those rates. So that's an internal process. That's something, we're pretty intimate with their current models. We can take that inside. So yes, we would transfer that inside. TCOS going before the PUC, really you want a third party involved in that process. So it would cut their consultancy down significantly, and we would take the bulk of that work inside. So that would be the plan over the next 2 years, is to bring delivery rates inside. We would be performing it We would do that work and they would merely be doing an auditing of it just to ensure accuracy of it.
Are they aware,
Especially
of this, are they aware of this plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, matter of fact, so prior to doing this, when we were gonna say, how do we extend this, was having that conversation for that very reason. I've dealt with a lot of great consultants, and it's like, you want them avidly behind you, and they've done this before on transition. Usually I'm very sensitive to the kind of language they use. If they're kind of dragging their heels, it's like, I don't want to deal with it. So they were very enthusiastic. They've done this with a number of even municipalities, helping them take on this process. So they're very enthusiastic about doing that. I think they'd be really good.
Yeah, and just to address a little more, so we hired them in 2017 to do initial cost of service study in Frederick County, and we didn't use them until 2020 again, so it's not like we're using them every year, they're kind of on the as-needed basis when they was prior to that.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions of Harvey? If not, I'll entertain a motion to, accept, this resolution, to authorize, the professional services with New Gen Strategies.
So
Mr. Dr. Ramirez, makes the motion.
Second.
Mr. Fields seconds the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. There are two items, it looks like, on the consent agenda, is that correct?
Yes.
And the dollars are attached. Is there anybody that wants to remove those from this consent agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Schultz moves. Second by Mr. Davis to the consent. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0, and thank you for, we're now adjourned, and thank you for the long, nice meeting, and for everybody that attended.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.